All right. Check. I appear to be live, and let me just, if you'll with me for a second, I'm gonna share this on Facebook. The only way that I've figured out how. How's everybody doing today? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whoever you are, wherever you are. My name is Andrew Corner. This is a little something I'm calling Blindspot Corner, where I come on and try to tell you what I think is wrong with the world. um, what I think is wrong with the world. More specifically, what I think is wrong with what's going on with this COVID thing, where it's actually going, what it's actually about, and tell me, tell me. Hey, listen, it's called Blind Spot Corner for two reasons. One, I'm trying to bring you blind spot perspectives that you might not otherwise be hearing, and two, if I have a blind spot, I fully welcome and endorse everyone and anyone to tell me what I'm wrong about. I want a discussion. The authorities are not having discussions. They are simply giving us mandates and dictates, and they're telling us the way it's going to be from now on. This is the new normal. And, they're not accepting discussions from people like me. The only discussion is allowed from people within their inner circle, which is what makes this nefarious, in my humble opinion. They are not accepting that anyone else might have something to say other than our public health experts, if you know what I mean. Okay, so welcome. I really have to work on an intro. I haven't done anything. I've been thinking about it, and it's funny. I don't have like a gimmick, and maybe that's why I'm not getting the kind of traction that most people on YouTube cultivate their personas after. They either do video games or clothes or makeup or whatever, really, just picking on feminists or picking on whoever and pointing out that there's some serious lack of understanding and a lot of way of thinking. So people go on YouTube and they talk about things in such a way that you can see from their point of view what it is they see happening that might be a little bit problematic with the way that authorities and public health figures and people are doing. And so those are exactly the kind of things that are being censored. Those kind of channels are being censored. And they're telling you that it's because we have to get rid of the Q-tards or whatever like that. The Q-tards, let me tell you something funny about the Q-tards, okay? First of all, I think that they're just people that have been fooled, tricked, misled. And the funny thing about these people who, in a lot of cases, I looked at some of these people and they're people that seem like they're just well-meaning people, and they just want to believe that there are a group of elites in society that get up to some rather nefarious activities, and they do things, they take advantage of people, and they take advantage of their power. And there seems to be an awful lot of indications that there is some truth to that particular perspective. So they have been fooled or LARPed or live-action role-played into believing that they are part of this grand conspiracy to save everyone from everything. And magically, when it doesn't happen, which it should have happened yesterday, if anything was going to happen, magically, when the power changes hands, they're instantly discredited, and now nobody's going to believe anything they say from now on. So, well done. I mean, you've made your bed, lie in it. I heard some stuff. I heard some stuff that Lynn Wood was talking about, and I was like, man, is this true? It sure sounds like it's true, because, there's that laptop by Hunter Biden that was confiscated the other day, and, there's some pretty questionable stuff on it. And look, I'm not going to say that I've seen anything definitive. I've seen some pretty questionable things. In fact, somebody this morning sent me a photo that was pretty questionable that appears to have Hunter Biden and a young lady in two different shots, and they are in very provocative situations. And let me tell you something. If I am in trouble for just saying that I saw this thing, that now people can claim is a deepfake, and they have all the power, and they can censor all the things that I might say that might be disruptive or dangerous to their particular way that they want to unfold things on the world, which is very good for them, but not very good for us, the free speakers and the free thinkers, and the people that used to have lives that they are now stealing out from under us. It's a danger to them to have it brought up that they might be a little bit scummy in their actions and their dealings, and they might be up to some really weird shit, because they're up to some weird shit. I mean, that Eyes Wide Shut Look, that's not the angle that I was going for today. I'm going to stop talking about it right there, but I have a couple clips I would like to present to you from the other side of that equation, not the people that own things and the people that control the halls of power and the levers of power. I want to talk to you about the people that work for them and help to facilitate the things that they want unrolled on society to happen. And I want to try to give you a little bit of perspective of how these people think, because this is just, it could not be more important, in my opinion, than to recognize who is doing this and why they are doing it. So here we have Paul Ehrlich. He is the professor of biology from Stanford, and he wrote a book called The Population Bomb that was very popular back in the 70s, and I will play a clip about that for you in just a minute, but let's watch this just for a second. It's only short, a minute and 36 seconds. Stay with me if you can.
Much
Oh,
better.
let me rewind it. Let me rewind it.
A lot of things now. I have shifted my own research mostly into the area of cultural evolution because I'm convinced, as are my colleagues, that we are not going to solve the gigantic problems humanity faces without getting real changes in culture and behavior. We've got to have cultural evolution so that we start treating each other and the environment upon which we all depend much better. And so it's a matter of behavioral change, but we don't know anywhere near as much about cultural evolution, that is evolution in our non-genetic information, as we do in Darwinism, which is evolution in our genetic information. But we don't have any international effort to say, how are we behaving? We have global problems. Why don't we have a global system to fix it? Why are we willing to live with large numbers of people starving when we've got enough food to feed them? Nowhere is it written that we have to succeed, that we can avoid the first global collapse of a civilization. We have a long history as a species of building civilizations and then having them collapse. The classic Maya, the Easter Island, basically the Greeks. They were regional or local. For the first time in human history, we have the threat of the collapse of a global civilization, and there's no reason at all to believe that we can change fast enough to avoid it. But it seems to me, particularly when I look at the young...
Okay, so that's him, and that's the way that he thinks about things. That's just from a couple of years ago. And if there's anything we know about Paul Ehrlich, it's that he is notoriously always fucking wrong about everything. He's just like, he says this stuff, and people prop him up because it's the kind of things that the elites in power, they like to think about things. They say, "Whoa, stop destroying all the things, because how are we going to leave stuff for our children?" And I just wrote an extensive post on Facebook this morning talking about exactly that. And I'm going to read it to you in just a minute, because some people don't read all that kind of stuff. Some people prefer absorbing information by watching it, and maybe I can explain some of the finer points. I did just kind of write it stream of consciousness this morning, so maybe I'll try to help decipher exactly what I was talking about. I don't always... Here's the problem with me. I don't like repeating myself. I don't like going back and doing things that I've already done. I'm terrible at spending my time refining my message and putting things into book form. If I was to write a book, which I've been writing quite a lot actually over the last few years, the hardest part of it for me would be the editing part. Okay? I just want to talk about the ideas. I want to pontificate. I want to bounce them off other people. I want to hear what other people have to say, because that's just that's the way that I interpret the world, and that's the way that I think everybody should and could interpret the world. What would be the harm in people actually talking openly and honestly, not with malice, not with prejudice, but literally just talking about complicated ideas in such a way that they actually respect you as a human being, to be able to have a mature conversation with them? I don't see the problem there. Does anybody see a problem there? Again, I got a blind spot, and if you want to tell me what it is, just go ahead and tell me. Maybe it's my inherent whiteness or some other retarded shit that somebody wants to tell you. Maybe it's the fact that I just used the word retarded, and you have a trigger where you've been told that simply using the word retarded is belittling the lives of people that actually have a developmental challenge in their physicality or their minds or whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is that you know that I'm not referring to those people in a derogatory way. What I am referring to is the idea of retardation. Going away from a level of maturity, or never really achieving the level of maturity in such a way that it prevents us from being adults. Okay, that's essentially what it is. I'm not saying that those people can't be adults. I'm being Is that adultism? Like, what am I doing right now? You can find any kind of way to make it sound like what I'm doing is victimizing other people if that is your wish. You can conceptualize it in any way that you want to say that I am somehow an aggressor and everybody else is the victim of me simply wanting to have a conversation about exactly what the hell is going on right now. And they will, and they do, and they will belittle, and they will attack, and they will torture anyone that even tries to stand up and say, that's exactly what's happening right now, because they don't want to be caught. They don't want people to tell them, oh shit, stop thinking for yourself. We need to control all of your emotions and all of your thinking, and if you're not listening to us, well then you're not listening to us, and you're part of the problem, not part of the solution. Do you know how immature it is to think about things in those ways? Side issue. But I suppose I'm immature or something. Look, I'm a human being, okay? I am not perfect. I'm full of faults. I am faulted to a T. I have all kinds of things that I wish that I could do better in my own life. But to suggest that that means that I think everybody else should make all those important decisions for me, that doesn't work out. Never works out in history. It's not going to work out this time. People will not accept it. And they're going to be given with the people that can't wrap their heads around what's going on right now is not really a pandemic. It's just a reclassification of diseases that always existed and always run through the population, and that the little spikes that were actually were caused by panic. They weren't caused by a new disease that had a CFR, which they told us initially was somewhere between 3 and 7%. Some people even said 10%, which is why all the panic happened, why people were afraid to deal with these patients, why they would intubate them instead of being in a room with a coughing, hacking person that might actually infect them to such a degree that they themselves might develop this disease, that it was unclear how it was affecting people, who it was manifesting on. We know who it is. We know it's the same demographics. We know it's the elderly. We know it's the immunocompromised. We know that it's people that have a vitamin D deficiency. We know that it's people that don't have enough zinc in their system. We know that it's people that don't have healthy functioning immune systems, and that the random people that it does affect that are under 70 years of age, like 65 under, those people have some sort of bloodborne issue that, again, makes it almost impossible for them to absorb, whether it be diabetes, to absorb and produce the kind of stuff that your liver needs to produce, which is a bioavailable vitamin D that actually helps and insulates your cells and protects you from shit like this. Okay? We know that none of that it was all a total overreaction. And we are keeping all the plastics and the shit in place and the stuff on the floor and the masks and everything for what? For what? It has a seasonal case fatality rate. It is not this thing that took out giant herds of people as it is being promoted breathlessly in the news. And when they talk about the fact, and when it becomes obvious, it's not that. They're going to tell you about the long haulers. Whoa, we don't know how it could affect certain people. You might be one of the victims. And you know what? Don't go outside because you might kill an old person if you go near someone and they get sick from you and they kill the old person that would have died from a seasonal illness because unfortunately they just weren't well. And that means you and I and my kids and your kids and everybody's got to get a vaccination that doesn't even stop transmission. It's literally therapy for people that have immunocompromised system. If anything, you give it to the elderly. And what happens when we give it to the elderly en masse? Oh, they die at a higher case fatality rate than actually contracting COVID, the thing we're protecting them from. Holy shit, am I losing my mind? Okay, sorry. A little bit of a tangent there. You know, the point is what are they doing? It's obvious that whatever's going on is totally full of shit. What our public health people are saying is totally full of shit. So what are they saying? What are they doing? How are they full of shit? Look, watch. Paul Ehrlich thinks that we need to have a new way to behaviorally program people to protect us from the apocalypse that he has been preaching for 50 years that always has failed to materialize because people adapt. That is the one thing about people. We adapt. We create systems for dealing with things, and We get better at utilizing materials, and there's a word for it, and it's escaping me right now, but we just get better at using the same materials over time, and all the wild predictions that they make all the time about overfishing and overpopulation and plastic islands in the ocean, none of them ever pan out to be true. They say it over and over again to scare the shit out of you, but it turns out that none of them have actually panned out to be true. The acidification of the ocean, well, it's not really happening, but we promise it will tomorrow if you don't listen to us today. And so they have 10 years. What was the 10 years really about? I have been talking about it over and over and over for anybody that will listen to what I'm saying. It was about the fourth industrial revolution. The guy that wrote COVID, the Great Reset, the reason that we needed to change everything in the post-COVID world, Klaus Schwab, wrote a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. What was it about? It was about artificial intelligence and technological unemployment making all these people outmoded, useless to society, no longer valuable as a tax cow for the people that own all the things. So, what do we do? What are we going to do? All these people aren't going to have jobs. How are they going to get food? They're not going to be part of the economy. Well, we create a system where they're all under lock and key, and every single last calorie is measured to the last little mile that is attached to it with this blockchain technology that we're going to put on everything that's going to... Literally every item that you purchase and use is going to be commodified, and those things are going to be turned into little calories, and they're going to just tell you how it's going to be. They're going to tell you exactly how it's going to be from now on. You are being taken out of the equation. What you think, how you live your life, is no longer important because they're going to fix everything for you on your behalf. But who does that serve? That serves the people that were threatened by free people that might actually rise up and do something about the fact that they're flying around in private fucking jets all the time. And they have giant fucking houses, and they put in everybody else. You're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. They're the fucking problem. Now, do I take it away from people like that have these giant houses, and they have all these properties, and they have all this invested in the real world, in the real economy, and they're making all this money hand over fist, and they're setting up the system in order to entrap those of us that they thought might have been a problem for them and their things in the future? Do I hold it against them? No. No. Because they couldn't do it if we didn't abdicate our part. If we didn't sit back and let them do it, they couldn't do it. And that's what I'm here to tell you right now. We can make things better if we stand up and refuse to accept obvious fucking bullshit that is fed to us by these people and their cronies. If we refuse to accept it because they're always wrong, they cannot see the future. They prepared for it, and they crafted a narrative that works for them so that they can do the things that they thought that they might have to do when there's too many people on the earth. But the truth is that freedom is a choice. It's a choice. Freedom is a choice. But so is civic responsibility. You can't have both. If you want to be a meaningful part of this world, you have to step up and you have to be a meaningful part of this world. Sorry, my computer's jittering over there. We have to accept that we should be better people. But now, because they feel like we weren't listening to them, at least that's the way that asshats like Paul Ehrlich come out and say, they feel like we weren't listening to them because we're just not smart enough, and smart enough like Paul and went to Stanford and know all the bad things that are going to happen, and we're going to predict them over and over again, whether or not they happen or not. But you know what? There is a problem with oil degradation. Okay, we have a real issue with soil depletion, the microbiome that's in the soil, and there are ways to fix it. But the way that they want to do it, it's not going to have the net beneficial effects that they think it's going to. It's a perfect utopian plan, and that's the problem with it. It's a perfect utopian plan. And guess what we know about utopia and human beings? Doesn't work. Doesn't work for us. Why? Because we need to grow and mature, and for that we need strife, and we need trial, and we need all the things that actually shape a human being. Which is to say, people get better through resistance training, whether it's exercising, whether it is learning a new skill, whether it is taking responsibility for ourselves and teaching our own children what they should take responsibility for. People need resistance training. We need to be confronted with ideas and thoughts and concepts that actually challenge our ability to think. It's called critical thinking. When you're using it for your brain, it's called critical thinking. If you're not deploying critical thinking, if you cannot entertain things that might make you feel uncomfortable, how can you possibly know that you're right? If you cannot look at someone that you're talking to and be able to say back to them what it is that they are saying to you, if you can't actually say that back to them, then you're not listening. If the first thing that you're planning on doing when they open their mouths is formulating a reply that wins you points, you're playing in a game here. There has to be a winner and a loser. And right now, our collective governments around the world are not listening to the people. They want to be the winners, and they fully intend to make us the losers, but it's going to be for our own good, okay? That's literally where we are right now. And everything was getting better. Everything was getting better. Read Michael Schellenberger's book. Read the False Alarm book by Bjorn Lomborg. We were getting better in almost read the book by Steven Pinker. We were getting better almost every single way. And the only thing that we weren't getting better at was becoming mature adults that can actually have a conversation. We were getting worse at that. We were having people foster our preconceived notions and our tendencies to want to be correct because that worked for them. So I'm wound up. And my wife's only gone up for an hour, and so I don't know if you know that, but this about me is that it makes me feel a little bit crazy and talk a little fast. And I get a little excited. Let me tell you. But, if you're not getting excited right now, you're just not paying attention. So let me read to you something that I wrote this morning, and see if this makes sense. You tell me if it doesn't make sense. Please tell me where I'm wrong. Okay, I'm gonna lift up the mic here so I can turn my head. Okay, I actually ended up posting this on another forum that I was invited to, and then I just revised it to put on my own page. So here we go. Hi guys, I've been posting about this stuff since April of last year, and I was already well aware of Agenda 2030 and Klaus Schwab having already owned his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, which I talked about. I would like to make a call for calmer heads. We, meaning the people that are standing up against this, don't have to hyperbolize in the same way that we are being held in a state of fear with the hyperbolization that they are putting on us on purpose in order to achieve the ends that they are trying to achieve that are not what they say they are. They're about Agenda 2030 and the Great Reset. And does one hand even need to know what the other is doing for those things to work in tandem? Guess what? It does not. It does not. They all just have to agree on the same things like human rights and equality and blah, 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 blah. Now, am I saying I don't like the idea of human rights or equality? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying anything close to that. What I'm saying is there's a different way to think about it, and we were getting there already. Everything was getting better. And a guy like Paul Ehrlich, he just thinks we're a group of assholes that aren't good enough at listening to him. He treats us like children. He thinks about us like children because, unfortunately, a handful of people act like children. They don't grow up. They play video games. They stay in their homes. They only talk to people online. And now we're making it worse. With everything that we're doing, we're making people less capable human beings. I hope that makes sense. What we do have to do is recognize what's happening and why. The Great Reset, which I have also read and discussed many times, because that is what is happening, can be best understood as a plan to combat what the people at the UN, WHO, WF have all agreed is their common problem. Free people. Tell me I'm wrong. What am I missing here? The Great Reset is not about depopulation, which a lot of people say. It's about depopulation. And let me just tell you something about it. If you come out and you say this is about depopulation, which it kind of sort of is, it's about halting the population. It's about controlling the population. But it isn't necessarily about going out there and killing people. And if you say stuff like that, you are easy to dismiss. So stop saying it. It's not helpful. The hyperbolizing that's going on in these various groups talking about what the NWO and look, it might be that there's facets of truth in all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is people doing this to other people. And they have reasons. Let's talk about them. Let's not hyperbolize. Let's just talk about the psychology that would encourage people to engage in this kind of thing. I think it's a little more helpful. Because if you can't understand what would motivate somebody to act in this way, you can't explain back to them why they think that they should do it and give a refutation for what they think they should be doing, then you cannot stand up against what's happening right now. And that's the problem. People cannot stand up against what's happening right now because they do not understand what is happening right now. And who can blame them? There is so much misinformation out there. The harm of fake news, the whole Linwood thing, all that stuff was shit. And maybe there even is stuff out there. And maybe there even is perverts and pedophiles. And we have a real issue with sexuality as a whole in this world. And we do. I'm part of the problem. I like pretty girls because I'm a man. I like the idea, but I also know that I love my wife. And when I stay with my wife, it's for my kids. Because my kids matter more than I do. We have lost sight of what is important. Family is important. Your family is the one who cares about you. The government doesn't give a shit about you. They have no reason to care about you. They only have a reason to care about things that they are incentivized to care about. Who's incentivizing them? The Great Reset is not about depopulation per se. It is about control. Little space there. Control of things that heretofore they, meaning the Davos crowd and the true elites of society, the ones with philanthropic bents, and all of their minions and NGOs who mean well, but serve a common purpose, which is always centered in leftist thinking about protecting the innocent or the environment or Gaia or ignoring the actual economics of it all, who they had been whipping into a frenzy purposefully for decades until they could achieve the critical mass necessary to do what they have been telling us they think we should do. And think is probably not the best word there because they're not thinking. But you get what I mean. The critical mass necessary to protect all the things. That's what we're doing right now. We're protecting all the things and all the people from all the things. Are we not? Are we not? Tell me where I'm wrong. Explain it to me slowly so I can understand. I stole that from Tucker. He's very smart. He understands the threat that this is posing to people's liberty. When you take away people's ability to engage, when you take away their ability to speak, violence follows. JFK told us that. They killed him. Who's they? I don't know. Do you know? Let me know in the comments, please. Well, if you own more than enough of what you need to be happy, what becomes the threat to your continued prosperity? I'm talking about the very rich people that started philanthropic organizations in order to promote causes that they believed were necessary for the world. Things that are supposed to be good, right? And what causes are good people attracted to? Leftist people. Environmental stuff. Helping people, protecting people, equality, blah, blah, blah. But what does it actually mean? What are they actually doing? Well, if you own more than enough of what you need to be happy, what becomes the threat to your continued prosperity? That's right. Free people. People are and always have been the threat to the elites and their stuff. We're destroying their earth. They promote philanthropic organizations that give to charities that is about protecting their earth. Of course they do. They have more money than they know what to do with. Of course they promote causes that protect their things. It's not about you at the end of the day. It's about their stuff. They have a major stake. You're just a piece of shit to them. It couldn't be more obvious. They don't think about you. They just use you and the idea that they're thinking about you to promote their causes. Paul Ehrlich's he's exactly the guy that they would promote and they would foster and they would prop up and they would put out there and they would give him a stage at Stanford and he would be able to tell people all this stuff because it works for them. It works very well for them. You see, they are rulers of men and women. Don't want to trigger anybody. And the main benefactors of the new world and the post-COVID world that are now unfurling all the carefully made and laid plans as organized by their own charitable contributions to making it happen. You see, people think this is the result of countries that are propped up by the people of those countries sending money out to a common cause that came out of nowhere and never really had much of a purpose. To the people that think that, how precious. How precious. You think our governments care about us. They send all this money to the poor countries because they care about us. No, they don't. That's not what the UN was ever about. Rockefeller donated the property, I think even the building, for the original UN. Is it because he was such a philanthropical... Is that even a word, philanthropical? He was just a philanthropist that he cared so much about the people. Do you know who this man was? He was a liar, a cheat, a stealer. His dad was literally a snake oil salesman. I suppose I'm being anti-Semitic. All these ways they control your ability to think. Challenge people when they call you something that you fucking know you aren't. Challenge them. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be violent. Please don't be violent. But when people are telling you something about yourself that you know not to be true, good people stand up and say, "Excuse me, sir or madam. Who the hell do you think you are to tell me who you think I am?" To everyone else that can understand what I'm saying, that seed money came from the philanthropists, as it did for our current education systems in the West, and our healthcare system that was built up and exported around the world by the West, and our monetary systems that were largely collectivized and put under central management at Bretton Woods. Central banking. Central banking. They control the levers of power that come with the ability to control the money supply. Money and capitalism itself, the idea was that people that were actually the more productive ones in society would take money and they would have a nest egg and they would invest it in things that would be towards helping and building up the world. Yes. But that actually meant that there was capital. What is capital? Capital is like savings. Your savings in a bank. Only we haven't been talking about savings in a bank for a long time. Not since we detached from the gold standard. The gold standard said there's a finite available of tangible things that we attach the money supply to, and it cannot grow beyond those bounds. And then it had to have a 10-to-1. Why did they have to have a 10-to-1 loaning to savings ratio at the bank? Why was the bank able to lend out 10 times the amount of capital that it actually had in its coffers to the people in order to do things so that we could have growth? But 10 times what there was is a hell of a lot different from not connected to reality at all. And we are not connected to reality at all. We have created this illusion of what money is that these people control because they already own all the things. And they're buying our compliance, our complacency. Your house was never worth that much. If you're a Canadian and you live in the GTA, guess what? Your house was never worth that much. It's an illusion. It's been an illusion since the 70s. I'm a lunatic, aren't I? Okay. So that was Bretton Woods. Bretton Woods tagged everything to the American dollar. So all other currencies were tagged to the value of the American dollar, which is called the petrodollar. Look, it's a long thing. I'm not talking about that right now. But the point is that these rich philanthropists also were the people that had major stakes in these banks in a lot of cases. And they controlled the money supply. And if you control the money supply, you can make it go way up when you want to. But only if the public demands it. You see, if the public, in 2008, if the public said, whoa, this bailout's bullshit. Some people are going to get hurt by their fraudulent investments that they did amongst the banking system. Let them die. Let them fold. That is what should have happened. And here's what could happen. Today, if you demanded it, we could have a debt jubilee. We could say, whoa, 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 whoa. Who told our governments that they had the mandate to do what they're doing right now with the money supply and throwing money at things that are totally made up? We could tell them to take their debts and shove it up their ass. But you need to know what they did and how they did it. And if you don't know, then support people who do. The problem is that people don't know very much about very much these days because they haven't been challenged. And I'm not saying I'm that smart of a guy, but at some point in my life, I just decided I needed to understand this stuff. Why? I don't know. It was because I have kids now. I need to protect the future for my kids. What are these people up to exactly? What are they doing to my children's future? I'm doing the same thing that those people would be doing because I'm a parent. And I have the same inclinations that a parent would have as far as protecting their own kind. But what made me different and think about it back then, I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, I can tell you. I'm a nonconformist, if I'm being honest. I never really fit in any group, and so I would bounce around and I would find things that I would find interesting and stimulating because otherwise I would just fall asleep. Is that a simple enough explanation? I fell asleep in school. It was boring. Being programmed to think in specific ways and patterns was boring. And there was not a lot of critical thinking stuff in school. Because there isn't. Because they created a schooling system that was literally meant to produce soldiers in Prussia. If you don't know that, and there's a different system, by the way, for the elites and where they send their children. Do you know? I'm getting off on a tangent. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep it straight line because I know people only have so much time in their lives. As do I suppose, which is why I sound frantic. I'll read it to you after. Free human beings. Okay, where was I? So, Bretton Woods. To be clear, centralized and concentrated power that has a final arbiter, as in a person that makes the ultimate decisions at the top of the food chain, whether intended as benign or not, is always a threat to human beings. So the people that are making it go through, they think of it as actually helpful and benign because that's just, they convinced themselves that this has to be done because climate change, don't you know? They don't talk about what parts of climate change we're actually doing better at. I mean, they do from time to time, depending on their expert category. But generally speaking, they also take that and they look at it in the umbrella of, well, there's also other problems that they've been taught to believe. What promotes those various ways of thinking? Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's human nature. We have to be humble. We have to understand that there are other people that we have to get along with. We have to understand that it is our responsibility to do our part to try to be the best possible people that we can be. That's something that religion used to teach us, and so they got rid of that. Religion's bad. Okay, it teaches you to be humble. It teaches you to be respectful. It teaches you that you should not be greedy. It teaches you all the things that apparently they knew 2,000 years ago when they wrote a big book on it. And we seem to have forgotten today, right when the church is going, it's taking a shit. Why? Because the elites, when the elites are the ones who prop up the ideas that they like, it's never about making our lives better. It's about management and appeasement of their best funded and ultimate goals. Okay? They are buying the favor of people, and they are promoting ideas that work for them and what their aims are, and have been ever since the UN was created. Everything that leftists, God bless them, and by the way, I don't have a thing against left. I think lefties, look, my personal opinion is this: you need to have equal measure left and right brain thinking in order to be a good person. In order to be a responsible person, you need to have ideas from both those. You need to be creative and you need to be rigid. Both of those things create the right path forward, in my mind. So much so that the book I told you I started writing a couple years ago was all about traffic and comparing humans to traffic. And the point is that you need to have both lanes of traffic. You need to have more than one lane so that people can pass and things can flow. And you need to have the respect for people that want to drive fast and the people that want to drive slow. I'll let you guess who I think that is. It depends. It depends on the scenario. It depends on the situation. But if everybody's going the same speed and it's really slow, ain't no traffic getting by. We're all going the same speed then. And guess what? It takes all of us a lot longer to get to the destination while the elites fly overhead in their little jets. Okay, everything the leftists, God bless them, think is about empowerment of the weak hinges upon the idea of support for causes that they see as important. This is not to diminish the importance of having the right motivations. Okay? You need to have the right motivations in order to orient your own life in the right way, but somebody can't put those on you. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. This is about the determination of the best way to achieve the goals for the greatest number of people. So even though leftists have these causes that they advocate for, they're not being... They're good people. They're obviously think about things in good ways, but if you don't let other ideas in the equation, if you don't let other people have a say or a place at the table, and you reject everything that's going on, and then you fake a pandemic to get all of your little goals and agendas in place that are strictly left-wing, to be honest. There's not much conservatism in the plan here, by the way, except if we talk for the people at the top who get to conserve all of the resources and the whole planet for them and their buddies. That's where the conservatism is. But it's being promoted by all these leftists that they hire to do all the things that they really kind of wanted to do anyways. Do you get it? Ultimate power corrupts. So we need to have these debates. We need to have these conversations about what's actually working, what's not. And when you start putting top-down controls on all those things, you never get to have the debate. You don't get to have the debate. Instead, they come up with a plan to stifle. Sustainability is another word for stifling productivity for everybody but them. If you don't know that, I don't know what to tell you. I wrote and produced and edited a video the other day. It's a lot shorter than what I'm doing right now. It's a lot shorter than my live streams. It was called What About Me, Mr. Prime Minister? It's not about me. It's about the everyman. It's about us. It's about the people that are being forgotten in this plan. And please go watch it. It's had over 100 views. It's the most views I've ever had. And it's something for me. I'm trying to make a difference. I swear to God, I'm not doing it because I'm trying to get rich. I'm not doing it because I just think I'm so much smarter than everybody else. I'm doing it because I think that we need to recognize what's going on here because it's a total lie. It's a fabrication. They believe they're justified in doing it, but it's a fabrication. Don't you fucking doubt it, because it is. It is a reclassification of disease and old age and stuff that was already happening, right? It was already happening. It happens every year. If the look, if it wasn't so full of shit, why do they have to promote these ideas of being afraid every single night on the news in order for it to happen? and they're trying harder, and they're cracking down on people speaking out. And when people go and they go for marches and they go for protests and whatever, and none of those people die the way that we're told that people will die if you simply congregate together, that should be your first clue. This is bullshit. It's an imagined threat because they see another threat, an existential threat that they've been working about ways to try to deal with for years. Ask Paul Ehrlich. That make me laugh. Ah, well. It's called, what is the word? It'll come to me. It's when you hang. What is it called again? It's like there's a. Where's Alex Jones when you need him? He's crazy. Don't listen to anything he says. You know what? Alex Jones has been a lot more on point with all of this than anything. He takes it way too far to the religious angle. For me, he does too much about good and evil. For me, this is not good and evil. This is just people doing what people will do if you give them enough power. So you have to reject centralized power. We always have to reject centralized power. Okay. So this is about determination of the best way to achieve the goals for the greatest number of people. That's what we should always make our aim. I'm all for helping people. I'm all for charity. I'm all for things. But when you have to manufacture this kind of thing in order to get your way, that's like let's look. It's so obviously not benign when they have to do that to get what they want. And then the details behind it, they're just fucking hideous. They're hideous. And they claim it's about protecting us, but this is no kind of world that you want to be in. Unfortunately, the vast majority of work done in the name of leftist causes naturally focuses on who they internalize as the culprits in almost any scenario. And what is that? Human beings. Tell me they don't. Tell me the cause of all the problems is not all the people causing all the fires and all the acidification of the ocean and all the things that are happening. And if we could just find some way to make the people listen to us, all the bad things definitely happen because of people overfishing and pollution and blah, 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 blah. You have to assume that people suck so much that they don't care about their own lives and their own priorities and their own situation so much to internalize that message that you would be willing to do what they're doing right now. And believe me, they are doing what they're doing right now because they have totally internalized that message. Why? They were funded to think that way. Human beings are the only thing that we can do something about. Billy Gates talks about it in his presentation at TED 10 years ago. Human beings are the one thing that we can do something about to stop climate change. Human beings. They are trying to control human beings. Period. Why would leftists want to control human beings? Because you can't reason with animals. You can't reason with nature, and you can't reason with the climate. This way of thinking is the underlying thread in almost every form of leftist thinking, and they have currently included in that equation for everything that they wish to help. Unfortunately for us formerly free people, that also means that the solution in every leftist equation ultimately and always ends up in top-down control. Communism is top-down control of the people because they're going to fix everything for the people. It's schizophrenic to think that way. It sounds great, but at the end of the day, if people aren't better, it doesn't matter how much top-down control you put on them. They have to want to be better. You ever have kids, you're going to figure that out really quick. And that's why so many people don't have kids these days, and they're all for this shit. People running around talking about, I don't have kids because I love the environment. You fucking asshole. I can have kids and I can still care about the environment. You fucking unbelievably myopic prick. Interestingly, the extreme right. Okay, so ultimately always ends up in top-down control. Interestingly, the extreme right if it were to become in fashion again, also comes up with the same answer. So now put those two ideas together. The richest and most elite people of the world want one thing to protect what they see as their responsibility, which is order, which is the earth, which is the property, which all of the things that they own. But this is the key to note. Notice the rules don't apply to them. They get to keep their private jets and their islands and their assets, and they also get the benefit of enriching themselves with the solutions they themselves have fostered and promoted through their charity works. And right now they are making it literally impossible for anyone to ever threaten them or their lifestyles again, because they will control the media through censorship and control US through micromanagement. Us. Sorry, it's not the US. Us. All of us. Through micromanagement of everything we consume, how we consume it, where we can travel, what jobs will be allowed, and what behaviors will be discouraged. Namely, ones like mine that point out how fucking diabolical this all is. But why would not the leftists of the world see this and call it out if they were truly leftists? Because mostly, at the top of these groups, they control the ideas that are allowed to proliferate and censor the ones they don't like. Meaning the philanthropic organizations promote things that work for them in achieving their ends. It's just math. It's just math. It's just economics. I gotta put this down. I think I'm yelling loud enough anyways. Oh, how do they do that? How do they do that? They control the purse strings. They fund causes and people who agree with what they always conclude. The problem is always not enough control of the people who just seem like they're not listening, because if they were, then the leftists wouldn't have a job. If there wasn't a job for all the busybodies in the world telling everybody how to live their lives, what the fuck would they do for a living? You tell me. I'm not saying there's not a place for it. There's obviously a place for charity. There's obviously a place. Look, I'm actually, if you met me, if you know me, you know I'm a nice person. Can somebody please back me up here? I'm actually a really nice person. I try to exemplify the type of person that I think that everyone should try to be. Because that's my choice. I know that acting in a way that is, you want to make people feel good, you want to make people feel comfortable, but right now I'm at the point where I'm like, whoa, who's taking away my choice to be how I want to be? Who gave them that mandate? I didn't vote for this shit, did you? No, nobody would have voted for this shit. That's why they have to do it in such a clandestine manner. That's why they had to make up the programming for the pandemic. It's behavioral economics and programming. Everything that they're doing, they will tell you that they are doing if you just listen to them tell you that they are doing it. Tell me where I'm wrong, please. Because free people can become self-indulgent and selfish and greedy, but there is a way to mitigate both of those problems, and it has been known for years, and interestingly presents itself right now. The internet was the way for people of all walks of life to finally be able to communicate and share ideas and prosperity, but it has to be in good faith. I'm sweating. I'm gonna go get on a t-shirt. Hang on a sec. I'm not done. They, the elites, don't believe in you or us. They don't. How could anybody that actually believes in the inherent goodness in people act this way? They think we are insolent children and should be treated as such. Paul Ehrlich just told you that. He's a guy that they prop up at Stanford that's been talking about the end of the world. He's literally an apocalyptic prophecy-er. And that's the kind of guy who they promote at Stanford. And he's like, everybody goes on fucking Johnny. The guy was on Johnny Carson. You want to see it? Here, watch. Here we go. Here, this is back, way back. Bam. Why is it that people were so consumed with this idea of Paul Ehrlich being on the right track? Because everybody likes to project that someone else is the problem. That's one of the things that's wrong with us as human beings. We project everybody else as always being the part of the problem, and they just won't listen to us enough. Maybe I'm even doing that right now, except I'm not demanding top-down control over all the things for all the people. I'm not making that demand. I'm making the exact opposite demand. I'm saying that we were actually getting there. There's tons of proof. Read a book. Don't read the book they want you to read. Read the counterpoint and then listen to what they have to say and see if they're actually telling you that that book is wrong. They won't. They will make appeals to emotion every fucking time. The fact that they are appealing to your emotion right now about this entire pandemic is proof that these people only appeal to emotion because they know that's what works. And so, why did this generate so many letters into the Tonight Show more than any other guest? Because people want to believe that they're good people. So if you think you're a good person, why can't you be so humble and admit that maybe somebody else is alright too? Maybe they're not the giant fucking asshole that's trying to destroy everything that you think they are. Maybe, if we had faith in everyone, we could actually get along. Do you see a lot of getting along coming from the left right now? No! They're talking about all the ways they're going to change things because it must be so bad, because everything about our history is bad, because people are bad. Does that seem healthy? What is the right's biggest problem? That they're religious and they want to save lives from abortion? Did I just trigger someone? They believe in the importance and the inherent valuable essence of human beings. That's what the problem with the right was. They like people. They think that God has a plan for us. And whether he does or he doesn't, it doesn't matter. The general attitude is that they like people. And the church has been twisted in such a way that the church hates people more than anybody. The fuck is that all about? Hey, you watch this for 2 minutes. I'm going to get a t-shirt. No offense, but how much do you want to punch that guy in the face? Sorry, I'm a lot cooler now. Whew. It's better. Namaste. You see? Do you get it yet? First of all, every fucking thing he just said there, he was wrong about. Quality of life has gone up for people. We have found ways to deal with energy. We have found ways to feed people. We have brought the vast majority of the world out of poverty during the time that we doubled the population this guy was worried about. You trust a guy like that because he's who gets promoted. That kind of thinking wins. Because people are afraid. They're afraid. It's been ever more obvious that people are afraid of shit they don't understand, and they just want to have answers given to them by people who claim that they have their best interests at heart, but guess what? They don't. They do not. They don't. They don't care. They're protecting themselves and their stuff. That's why they promote fuckwits like that. That guy's an asshole. If you can't see it, maybe you think I'm an asshole for even pointing out that guy's an asshole. That's the kind of thinking that gets promoted. And people like me are a conspiracy theorist. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. How stupid do you have to be? Look, now I'm calling people stupid. See the problem? That's the wrong thing to say. People are not stupid. I don't think people are stupid, for the record. I think people are misled. I think that they have been bred to not be able to think critically. That's my belief. Prove me wrong. You see a lot of critical thinking going on this year or last year. We still have the same amount of deaths that we had every single time there was a bad flu season. The flu is gone. Everybody's dying of COVID. There is no spikes that they've been telling us were going to come. This wasn't a second wave. This was just a reclassification. They're using a test that finds people that were actually exposed to this virus however long ago. That's the point of the test, that you can find something just by changing the amount of cycles. In every way, they're manipulating our feelings, and they're attacking everything that we think and we say against it by using feelings to manipulate us. Not facts and figures. Read one story in the paper that actually gives you facts and figures that take it and put it into context next to another year. Read one. Show me one. Why don't you go do some homework? Spend 10 minutes looking at the stories. There's plenty of them out there. How many of them are comparing them to recent years? None. You think there's a problem there? So they, the elites, don't believe in you or us. They think that we are insolent children and should be treated as such. And a child chooses a team and only rarely changes their position no matter what you throw at them. It's easier, a child or a childlike adult. It's okay to be a fan of a team and cheer for your team, but the point I'm trying to make is, if you will allow me, when you choose a team or a side or a cause or a position politically, how often do you see people go, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe there is something to what you're saying. We don't. Because most people are conformists and they do what they see around them. The same argument is made for racism. They say, hey, there's this culture of racism and it's going to promote more racism. So they can use that argument to say that there's going to be racism and people will buy it because they know it's true. They know that people stick with your team, with your side. People rarely change perspectives. Instead, they double down. It's called willful blindness. So it's true. Tell me it's not true. What am I missing? A child chooses their team and only rarely changes the position. No matter what you throw at them, it's easier and more convenient to put your efforts into one way of thinking than it is to suffer the cognitive dissonance that comes with questioning whether or not you're actually right. So people don't do it very often. Look around with Trump. How many people lost their friggin' minds with Trump? And it's always the other person's fault. Trump was no angel. But he was trying to take power away from the UN and the WHO and the CCP that want top-down control. And now they have it. Now they have it to do all the things they wanted to do. They canceled the pipeline first day. They did the transgender bathroom thing. First day, they're going to make people wear masks federally, the entire country. First day! How many more clues do you need to pick this up? Jesus Christ. Sorry. I don't know what I believe. I believe that, I believe in people. Can we talk? Why don't they want us to talk? Because ideas are like a virus. People are like a virus. Social media has always fostered and promoted these algorithms and So, people don't change their minds often, and social media has fostered and promoted with algorithms and exacerbated all of these issues, when in truth, in my humble opinion, is that if you want people to grow and mature and make the right choices, you need to provide them with challenges and thinking that promotes liberal values of individualism. People need to think independently so that they don't get stuck in these groupthink ways of believing and interpreting the world. Maybe my problem is I'm not stuck in one of them. I don't think any side is right. But I don't even think I'm right. I don't even know that what they're doing right now is necessarily wrong. Is it wrong? I don't know. If all the guys that agree with Paul Ehrlich believe that the world is going to end in 10 years because of climate change, maybe they are right. Except the problem is that I looked at most of those arguments and they're hyperbole. Even the IPCC doesn't say that shit. They have to get people to come out and promote the ideas they want given to the public. And when you read the actual report and what it says, compared to what all the hyperbolizing and the climate alarmism that goes along with it, it doesn't match. Do you know that? We were getting better. We were always getting better. We've been getting better. At this point in time, we're at a crossroads, and that crossroads says, do you believe in human beings? Do you not? Do you believe human beings are inherently good? Or do you believe we're a plague on this planet? Tell me I'm wrong. So, you have to make the right choices and have the right values that actually promote a good life. That means exercising, eating right, getting healthy food, raising our children properly to be good people, to be cooperative people, not to pick sides if we can help it. What parent teaches their kids to fight over toys in the playground? Because that's what these people are doing right now, these paternalists. They're saying it's for the greater good and that all these things were going away, but it doesn't matter if they're wrong. They don't care. They don't want to hear it. I'm too busy making plans. Don't tell me all the things I'm wrong about. I have an idea. Yeah, I get paid for it. No, it doesn't make me think about anything else. They think we are children and are now treating us as such. The elites, over the course of the last century, have also expended great effort and treasure in promoting the idea that people need to be taken care of. Why? Because at the end of the day, they became wealthy in the first place by being control freaks and building huge fortunes. What is their priority? Making the world better for their offspring. Same as yours, I bet. Can you really blame them? You are handing them the power to do what they're doing. Can you blame them? They think you're an idiot. Are we going to prove them right? Only if we accept what they're telling us and literally manifesting into reality with an almost totally made-up pandemic that most reasonable and thoughtful people that are not simple conformists have recognized as being more of a reclassification than something that is out of the ordinary. The only thing that has been out of the ordinary is the response from our collective public health departments. And so the ultimate plan for control is being rolled out because they think of us and are now treating us like children. The only thing left to do is find out whether or not they're right. And then I posted a video that I made on December 1st talking about what compels this way of thinking about things. Getting into the actual psychology. What actually compels people? Why do they get into this mindset that they need to protect all the people from all the things? There are reasons. They're not just born that way. Those that can do, those that can't teach, or they go into NGOs or government. Government is never efficient. Okay, name one thing that government is efficient at. Healthcare. Do you really think that healthcare is efficient in this country, in Canada? In any place where they have universal healthcare, like the UK? Is it such a great service? Well, if I break my leg, I can go and get a cast for free. Yeah, but if you have cancer, you can sit on a fucking wait list to get treatment until you die. At least if you go to the States, you can hand a guy some money that you might have saved up just for that event. For that purpose, you might have had insurance that you paid for that would actually be cheaper than the taxes that we pay for that go to healthcare that actually just go to promoting ideas about world government anyways. Shit. So, what was I talking about? Okay, so I do want to do a couple things, and I'm already over an hour because I'm such a rambler. Yeah, I'm such a rambler. Seriously. This is why I need to produce stuff and just put it out, because otherwise I just get nuts. But, let me just do this. Let me just do this, because I think that it's important to understand that what these people don't take into their equation is actual economics, unless it's the economics of behavioral economics, because that's what they're doing right now. They are incentivizing us to do the things that they think that are good for us. But what's the problem? What's the problem? Let's just go. This guy is really interesting, and I really want to buy his book and read it. I've read books like it. But the point is that this guy is a very smart guy. His name is James Otteson. He's done another awesome TED Talk that I put up, I think, yesterday, that you should watch. And it's about this idea of what happens with socialism. We believe that it's inherently good because it's about people, right? Socialism cares about people. It brings people into the fold. But are there costs associated with it? Are there costs? Why don't we ever talk about that? Do you ever hear people talk about the downfall of socialism on the mainstream media or in NGOs where they talk about we need to have a change of the system in order to protect all the things and all the people? No, they don't. They never talk about the downside. Why not? Is there one? I think I just explained why they don't talk about it. Because those ideas don't get promoted to the top. They already have them at the top. So they promote other ideas that make people obedient. But what's the problem with that?
You mentioned just a minute ago the local knowledge argument, which we've been talking about, the economizer argument, and the invisible hand argument. The economizer argument is just a sort of claim about human nature. We tend to want to get the most we can out of the energies we invest in anything. So a less charitable way of...
People in their everyday actions economize their own lives. What we're talking about right now is taking that power out of the hands of regular people and putting it in a top-down structure that determines literally every calorie that you get because climate change. It's obviously horseshit. It's obviously horseshit. And even if it isn't horseshit, why don't we have debates? Why don't they let climate change people have debates with other people that take alternate positions? Let's have the debates. Let's have a series of debates. Put them on YouTube. Take your best arguments and put them against someone else's best arguments. Take Bjorn Lomborg or Michael Schellenberger and have a debate and put it on YouTube. Make it a whole series and itemize the questions. The things that we say, the reasons that we have to do it because carbon dioxide is bad for the environment and causes all these extreme weather events, which there is no evidence that it does, and it causes ocean acidification, which there is very little evidence that it doesn't actually have a mitigating factor there that's literally built in, a dampening factor into the environment. What about the plastic that's in the oceans? Listen to Michael Schellenberger, read his book. He's going to tell you that the problem's been way overblown. And there are opportunity costs and things that happen when you change systems because you're just so sure that you're right. The only thing, the greatest revelation of humankind in philosophy throughout the years has been one thing. Men are better off without rulers. We're better off without rulers. We like to choose our examples to follow after, but we're better off without rulers. And I mean top rulers. You want to go back to feudalism? Be my guest. It's not there for me. I don't like it.
Putting that is that we're lazy, but more charitable way is that we're economizers. We tend not to want to invest any more energy than we have to achieve whatever our goals are. And if you accept both of those, so the local knowledge argument, meaning that our knowledge is limited to the kinds of things we actually ourselves experience and know about, the economizer argument, that we tend to want to economize on our energies, and the third part is that invisible hand argument, that if you have a set of institutions that allows people to strive to better their own condition, what they'll do is they will find ways to better their own condition that inadvertently or unwittingly or as if by an invisible hand also benefit other people. So it's an ingenious argument, but a lot of it is...
Unless, of course, those ideas are actually being promoted by people who thinks that the best thing that they can do for the earth is put it under total fucking lock and chain. Just so you know. Just so you know. We're talking about people living actual lives, economizing their own lives, prioritizing things that they want to put money aside for or buy with their money. And even in this world where money seems to have lost all connection with anything actually tangible, people still do that in their everyday lives. That's why people put money away for their savings. That's what we do. If we do what we're doing right now, that entire concept is gone. Do you know that? All your savings, all your hard work, all the things that you built up, gone. Are you getting this yet?
Was given a much more sophisticated and technical apparatus by later.
They're going to tell you exactly what you can have. And you only get to work in their system if you agree with them. Otherwise, you're a bad person. Does this feel dogmatic to anyone else?
Thinkers, including Hayek.
Right around that part of the book, you bring up the luck egalitarian argument, which is interesting. It sort of fits into this entire thing of what you know about people.
Listen, that's called episode 77 from libertarianism.org, and I'm not a libertarian. Although, like, they're good thinkers. I'll give them that. So you can find it at libertarianism.org, the actual YouTube channel. You can actually go to their website, I believe. Episode 77, The End of Socialism with James Otteson. Please, find some time to open your minds. We're being sold a lemon right now that only empowers a handful of people and their ideologue goonies. Okay, what did I want to... Okay, this. Okay, here we go. I really want you to just listen to what this guy says. This is also another really good video.
I don't want to make a video like this of myself.
She sounds very nice, actually. Very pretty. Going on. So this is the Great Reset. This is part of the Great Reset. This is by a guy named Mark Moss. He's got 200,000 subscribers, and him and his subscribers are spending all their time trying to figure out how they can protect themselves. Which means instead of protecting themselves, they're really just wasting their time. Maybe they might be able to get these people. Again, this is going to be the system. You either are bound down to it and you agree with all of its dictates, or you're not in the system. In which case, we're headed into a time right now, because this is what happens in all communist revolutions when the ideologues, the true believers that they're doing things to help people and make the society a better place. You see, they create chaos. And then before their distribution really gets up and running, a lot of people are going to be hurt, and there's going to be violence, and the calm and niceness that we are being promised right now, this is the lull before the storm. I'm telling you, some shit is coming our way if we keep fucking going with this shit. It ain't going to be pretty. It ain't going to be pretty. Civil war is an understatement. That's why they're hiring so many police, and that they're putting their tracking system in place. They know how this is going to go. It says so in the guy's goddamn book. COVID, the Great Reset. And in the Fourth Industrial Revolution, they talk about how much chaos this is going to be during the transition from now to the point where AI and artificial intelligence and algorithms control all the things. That's what they talk about. So of course they have this plan. And thank God they're hiring all these people to help them roll it out. But in the meantime, while those good people are doing all the good God's work, apparently they must think that they're doing, to save the earth, the rest of us are going to have to fight over the scraps because we are being outmoded. Are you okay with that? I am not. Who fucking gave them the mandate? We have nations. We have sovereignty. We can tell these people to fuck right off. Stand up. Recognize what's happening. This is not a game. This is not a drill. Oh, the virus. Be scared of the virus. Jesus Christ. So, he talks about the history of the monetary system, how monetary systems and fiat currency, which is what we're living under now, always fails. It always fails. Governments try to control it. It always fails. It was failing before all this happened, by the way.
System.
So it's just another excuse not to have to deal for the mistakes that these people have made, the way that they have screwed us all over. And they've made themselves filthy rich and elite, and they're putting themselves in protected classes right now. And they're taking cushy jobs. This is the Communist Chinese Party, writ large, the entire world. The Communist Chinese Party walk around like they're fucking gods in China. And everybody else is slave labor. That's where we're going right now. Except all the slave labor was about to be automated. There is a solution to this. I just want you to know there is a solution to this. It's small-scale farming. It's local trading. It's decentralization. It is respect for one another. It is teaching our kids how to think, not what to think. And it's to stop believing obvious lies by demagogues who use your sensibilities against you. They use things that you don't really fully understand against you. They use your emotions against you. They're doing it right now. How on earth can that be benign?
And we can see that this problem actually...
I'm not trying to use your emotions against you, even though you should be concerned about what's going on right now. But because the world was headed on a trajectory to a much better place. Much more freedom for all. It was happening anyways. All the stuff they tell you they need to do this for, to protect the people, was already happening. And we let these maniacs run through the academy and come up with their critical race theories and their critical whatever theories and their postmodernist bullshit where they basically talk about stuff because they can, because they're in a society that has made them comfortable and powerful. And they influence children, and those children go work for these fucking NGOs. Is that necessarily a bad thing? Maybe when they try to take over the whole world using it. Maybe. Does anybody think there's a problem with that?
really started breaking apart in September of 2019.
Okay.
September of 2019 is when the overnight bank repo markets seized.
I hit it right on the right spot. Okay, so this was actually the proof that the existing system was like they created so much money there was no way to pay it back. When you borrow money from a theoretical entity, it has to be paid back with interest. Right? See, we in Canada are part of a, and that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, shit. But I won't today because I'm already over an hour and I know people will look at it and go, oh my God, 3 hours. I don't want to watch that. So whose fault is that? That people don't want to have a conversation. That's, you know, what else could I be doing with my time? That's proof positive that people try to economize their time. They'd rather flip over to CTV or whatever, where they're going to tell them how scary it all is and we're going to protect you. Just listen to us just a couple more weeks. Just a couple more weeks. We're going to save you from all the things. We're going to protect the innocent. We're going to bring equality. Equality of outcome. It's different than equality of opportunity. We should all want equality of opportunity. We should fucking cringe at the idea of equality of outcome. You should fucking cringe when you hear that. That's called communism. Who does it benefit? Only the people at the top. Everybody else is equally fucking poor. That's what's going on right now. Because of climate change. Then make the argument. You really believe that's true? Do it. Have a series. Get your best guys to get a panel of your best guys. Put it against a panel of people that actually make sense and they're not climate alarmists, and have them debate it like adults. But no, we have to tell everybody there's a great big fucking pandemic we need to protect them from. It's a giant lie. I'm not saying there's no virus. I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you there's either terrain theory or there's germ theory, and you pick one or the other. No, it's probably a combination of both. Depending on how healthy you are and what kind of habits that you engage in your regular life, you will be more likely to survive this thing that isn't even that dangerous, no more dangerous than a seasonal flu. You will be more likely to survive that based on the things that you do in your life. It's up to you. Do you get it? I want it to be up to you what your life is like. I want people to be empowered, not collectively slaves to a group of people that are full of shit.
Eased up for the first time. Now, in an attempt to save the banking system, the Federal Reserve had to jump in immediately, overnight, and pump in $500 billion just to save the banking system. Otherwise, it would have been seized up and the whole thing would have collapsed. So they pumped in $500 billion overnight to save it, but of course this didn't save it. It only kept it alive a little bit longer. Now, the amount that the Fed needed to pump in to keep this whole system going, it had to continue to grow.
What do you think happens if an entire country's currency collapses? Did we see it in Greece a few years ago? They took away every benefit that those people had and they privatized islands and they put debts on that country, and everybody said, oh, it's the lazy Greeks because they're just so selfish. Is there some aspects of that is true? Sure. But you need to have your orientation in society in such a way that there's more productive people than there is people that are drains on the society. And so you need to encourage the kind of behaviors that make people into productive people. Not sheep. Not people that listen to everything that they're said and they don't fucking question a goddamn thing critically. How's that working out for us right now?
Grow. And by the time the pandemic hit in March of 2020, the Fed was already pumping in almost $1 trillion per day just to keep the system from crashing. Now again, like I said, the pandemic didn't create the problem, but it is accelerating it. And it's really giving them the perfect excuse, the perfect reason to cover up their mistakes. And of course, these are their words. These aren't mine. I'm not saying this. This is their words. We can see that Klaus Schwab, the leader of the World Economic Forum, wrote a book titled The Great Reset. And he said, quote, "Pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world." And the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, just said basically the same thing, saying that, quote, "The pandemic is an opportunity for a global reset."
For a reset.
So you can see this, right? It's already
I really hate him. I'm sorry.
Reserve,
He's
central
such a
banks
putz.
are creating and injecting trillions of dollars. But it's all a big experiment that most people think is an effort to save the system. Or
I know, he's just so pretty. He has that perfect hair, and he talks in such a non-threatening way. He's such a metrosexual. And isn't he wonderful? He says all the things that I want to hear. Doesn't he, people kind? Doesn't he say all the right things? The guy's a cartoon character. He's a joke. It's not a surprise that when you elect weak men to lead your country, weak shit follows.
kicking the can down the road, so to speak. But what if they don't want to save the system? What if they're just waiting until they're ready to actually make the switch? Oh. And that brings us to step number 3, which is, what does it look like on the other side? What is this big switch?
Okay, so this is that step. The system that they had propped up for years, and they bailed at everything, and they threw all this money at charity that didn't exist. They never had a way to pay it back. And now they're sending money from country to country to help out with the response for COVID, which is going to make us all equally bankrupt at the same time. And the World Bank is facilitating it. And I have proof, and I will show it to you. Not today, because I'm already an hour and a half. But I'm working on it. I've been editing the clips, and let me tell you something. Editing these clips makes me crazy, because these people are Real pieces of work. Are they bad people? No, they work for a system. They believe a set of ideas. Do you think they question them much? I bet not very much. No, their life is probably pretty good. They do pretty well. They're pretty comfortable. They're better than you. They care about people more than you do. That's what it is. They're just better than you. They care about people more. There's only one way to think about how to help the poor people around the world. Destroy productivity.
That they are switching us into. All right. So if currencies always rise and always fall, right, and the current U.S. dollar system is basically on its last legs, what comes next? Now, I think it's the end of money and it's the end of currency as we know it. And instead, we're moving into something much different that we've never seen before. As a matter of fact, it's not money, it's not currency, it's a government ledger, a credit system. So let me dig into that. So we've talked about this, I've talked about this in several videos, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. They're here, all right? Now in 2018, a survey by the
If they didn't intend to do this, why have they been working on and perfecting the technology in the background for years? And Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, she came out and she said, "Oh, Bitcoin's bad. Don't trust Bitcoin. But I see these people are buying Bitcoin. It's a real threat to our society. That Bitcoin, if people buy too much of that Bitcoin, they'll be too independent, and we can't control that. And they might do bad things in the background while we're trying to fix the world." Fuck you, bitch.
BIS, the Bank of International Settlements, which is basically the central bank above all central banks, back in 2018.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't call her a bitch. But man, she's full of shit.
They reported that 63 central banks.
And she has every reason to be full of shit. And if you see that somebody is that disingenuous and that false and that full of shit because they're lying about what they are doing and they're just trying to keep you from being able to opt out of their system, which is what Bitcoin represents. It is decentralized. Not like these currencies all the banks are coming up with at all the countries that are ledgers. This guy is 100% right. They are ledgers. Why are they a ledger? Listen.
We're already working on a digital currency. Now, like I said, I've done several videos on this. I've reported that China was the first country to really release its CBDC to the world. It released it to the wild in October 12th. Other countries are really coming up close. They're really following.
They were ready just in time.
Sweden,
Magic.
Turkey, Iran, several Caribbean nations. Of course, the United States is also working on their own Fed coin or central bank digital currency, right? The United States can't be outdone, and neither can the IMF, who's now calling for a Bretton Woods 2 moment, and they've released plans for their own central bank digital currency. So this is the big reset, switching us.
The first set up for a worldwide currency pegged to the American dollar, the petrodollar, Bretton Woods. They are doing a new Bretton Woods. That's their verbiage. That's what they are saying. Because that's what they're doing.
From a currency system over to a digital form of currency. All right, but like I said, this is not
paper money has germs on it.
You know it. This is something completely different. Money or currency, we can hold ourselves. We can have access to that, and then we can exchange hands for it as we see fit. CBDCs are something completely different that have some very, very unique characteristics. All right, so
tell us what they are, Mark.
First one, I've covered the first two. The third one I haven't covered yet before. So the first one is programmable. So it's programmable money. So that means that when they give it out, they can program it to do certain things. So let me give you an example. When they sent out the stimulus money in the pandemic, they sent that out to stimulate the economy, right? If they sent it out to people, they hoped those people would go spend the money, which would help to stimulate the economy. But most people didn't. Most people wish they actually had more savings at that time. So instead of spending that money, they saved it. A lot of people invested it. They went into Robinhood, et cetera. We've talked about that. So they could program the money. So for example, they could send you the money and say, if you don't spend this money by Friday, it comes back to us, right? Or they could say that we'll give you the money, but you can't spend it on Robinhood or stocks or investing. You can only spend it on food or shopping, right? So things like that. So they can program the money. The next thing that they can do with CBDCs are behavioral.
Not just food, but the right food. This is about total control.
Modification. This one's very important. So for example, they could actually program it to modify your behavior. So for example, they could say, hey, you're not saving enough money. So in order to get you to save more money, to have the behavior we want, we're going to pay you 5% interest or 10% interest on the money.
Now, notice, you're not saving enough money in the new system they're going to create that is going to measure every calorie. You're not saving enough money. So not only are they taking away the ability of people to actually engage in a market freely exchange goods, they're getting rid of capitalism in the market system. They're creating a new system that they control from the top down. They control every aspect of it. And then they're going to give you a pittance, a UBI to live. And they're going to say, out of that UBI, you should also take a little chunk of that and put it into your future. Because you weren't doing it already. Because a lot of people in Canada were just getting by. And the question is, why were they just getting by? Because their houses were too expensive to live in. And why were their houses so expensive to live in? Because the banks kept loaning more and more money at lower and lower rates, jacking up the bubble that they intended to pop when the time was right. Don't believe me? They bought your compliance. Your house was never worth that much.
That you save. Or they could say, hey, Mark, you're hoarding too much money. You need to go save it. So we're going to charge you 5% interest on your money. Behavioral, they could also say, if you do these things, you get more stimulus. If you do these things, you get less stimulus. So they can do all these things to create this behavioral modification. And I've covered those two things.
Okay, so that, I mean, he's 100% right about that. What's the actual effect it's having on the current economy?
Hi, I'm Max Kaiser. This is the Kaiser.
Max is very smart. Stacy drank a little of the Kool-Aid. She's also very smart, but Max really gets it. He's the one that drilled it into my head. You cannot have capitalism without capital.
Report. Well, today we're going to talk about what happens when...
Just for the record, I think I watched this guy's first 1,000 episodes, like every single one. Every single one. I didn't miss it. For like 10 years, I watched 1,000 of this guy's episodes. He interviewed... The first half of his program is always just him talking about what's going on, and the second half is him having experts. I have listened to probably... And he has repeat experts. So I would say probably I've listened to 5,000 people's different perspectives. 500. Good math. I've listened to 500 different people give their perspectives on how things are going. Yeah, probably less than that. But that's just on his show. That's just... If you have to understand that, like, I don't claim to be better than anyone else, but I have spent a lot of time just thinking about this stuff. Hearing ideas. Like an inordinate amount of time. And I'm telling you right now, that what they're doing right now is never going to work, and it only works for them.
Governments fused together with corporations. What happens? Stacy.
Well, it's certainly no country for small business. Remember that film, No Country for Old Men? Well, we have become no country for small businesses. As everybody knows, like all of the tech giants have been raking it in during this lockdown and COVID pandemic.
The WEF, Great Reset Partners.
The small businesses were, allegedly there were some of these like PPP loans that were meant for them. And most of it went to friends of the big banks and bigger clients of the big banks that got all of the free money that then got discharged. So I'm going to show you a headline from the summer. This was from August in Bloomberg News. And they said small businesses are dying by the thousands and no one is tracking the carnage.
It's on purpose.
Big companies are going bankrupt at a record pace, but that's only part of the carnage.
If they didn't fit the mold.
By some accounts, small businesses are disappearing by the thousands amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And
if regular people have their ability to operate outside of the system and the partners of the WEF and the Great Reset and Agenda 2030, and the fact that they all are working synergistically to promote these causes that I've been talking about for this entire podcast, if they're not part of that group, or they didn't agree with it, or didn't fit into the mold, they're not going to be able to conduct commerce whatsoever. They are trying to get rid of paper money and control the movement of people and make everybody dependent on their system. You will not be able to operate outside of their market system that they're trying. And if you would, why would they be destroying all the jobs? Why would they be destroying all the small businesses? Why would they be offering us a digital currency that they can program to be used exactly how that they think it should be done? They're going to get rid of paper money. You mark my words. They're going for paper money. They're going for Bitcoin. They're going for everything that threatens their system. That's why everything that threatens what they want to do is bad. And everything that is in line with what they want to do is good. This is not complicated.
The drag on the economy from these failures could be huge. This wave of silent failures goes uncounted in part because real-time data on small business is notoriously scarce, and because owners of small firms often have no debt and thus no need for bankruptcy court.
Yeah, this is curious. What sticks out is that they're not tracking this information. So the small businesses are the lifeblood of the economy. It's like saying the country decided not to keep track of its children, right? It's like saying we had 10 kids, but they wandered off one day, and we found out a year later that they all died. But we don't care because we were busy doing whatever it was, watching Netflix or something. So it's interesting, especially now in the era of big data and
His analogies don't always work out, but he is funny.
pervasive data and surveillance capitalism, where these same companies that are benefiting by the extermination of the small firms can tell you how many nose hairs you have in your left nostril at any given moment. It can tell
Every
you what
calorie.
your earwax tastes like. Jeff Bezos has probably tasted more earwax than any executive we know in America today because he's got a fetish. He should know that the small businesses that he's putting out of business will ultimately kill his customers. But wait, he doesn't care.
Yeah, right. And
He doesn't care. They don't care. They don't care about individuals. They don't care what you think. They don't care if this is going to hurt you, because ultimately they're going to get their way. Because they have been empowered to do so by people that believe that everything that they're saying should be done because it works for them. This is the CCP writ large. It couldn't be more obvious. And my kids are home now, so I'm going to drop it because I can't be hooting and hollering into the ether when they're here because I want them to be rational people. Yeah, so let me see if anybody... nobody pays attention. Anyway, all right, y'all. There's one more thing I wanted to say. And I'm going to say this. Okay, here. I just want to let you know something. I'm running out of time. It's true. We're nearly broke. I need to take a job, and I won't have time to be the time that I have been investing into making content and trying to provoke thought processes that help people to see this for what it actually is, what it clearly is, what it obviously is. It's a funny thing how the government makes it so that we cannot escape their trap and must work in their system, which they make it increasingly hard to criticize. Censorship, so on. I've tried to make something, but I'm going at it like a total rookie. But I'm willing to accept that the message is more important than making money, which is ironic. The message is that it's okay for individuals to make money, and yet I'm not doing the things that I know that would directly benefit my ability to actually make some funds out of this because I don't have time to think about it. I'm trying to just stop this. Because once it's in place, once it's there, there's like... I mean, this Leviathan has got tight grip. How we're going to get out of it? I mean, other than a total revolution, I don't know. And right now, it's not too late. It's not too late for you to just say no. In Italy, what they're doing is amazing. These restaurant owners and small store owners have banded together and they have said, we are not taking this anymore. And when people go to the restaurants or whatever, police, they send them there to give them fines. They shout them out of the building. Because those police work for the people. The government works for the people, not the other way around. Get that through your head. It doesn't matter if they think they're right. They have to prove it. That's why they're lying. They would have had to convince people to do all the things that they said that they needed to do. 193 countries signed on to Agenda 2030, and none of it would have been possible. None of it would have been possible. No way, shape, or form would it have been possible if there were still free people that could opt out of it. If there was still a market economy outside of it, never would have happened. Impossible. That's why this is what this... I was happy doing a job I didn't like before, because at least there was a trade-off, and I was spending my spare time when I could find it, fleshing out my own ideas and working on ways to make some more money to help my family, which is what you have to do. If you work at a job that's minimum wage and you want to complain about it and whine about it, get a better one. Educate yourself. I know I've been saying that these people have monopolized the education situation, and that now that's over. Like, the idea of actually making your life better on your own terms, making the right decisions in your own life, in your own way, in your own capacity, is being taken off the table because they believe that you are children. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. Makes it impossible. It's sad to see that people don't see it. It is. It's tragic. It's tragic. Do you think that I'm talking to people like this, that I'm putting all this out there? They're probably going to like commit me or something for talking about things that are 100% obvious. Because it's a threat. You think I'm crazy? I'm not crazy. Believe me, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just read a lot of books, and I understand what this is because I listened to them tell me what it is. If you don't, I think that means you're crazy. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to be disenfranchised, and there will either be in the fold or outside of the fold. Living on UBI that they can turn on or off, like in the CCP with the social credit system, where you either have the opinions, they program your money and your currency so that you can get the things that you need to live your life at subsistence wages. They will give you jobs. They will assign things. That is what socialism, communism does. The idea of freedom to choose and build your own life and your own winning or losing is gone now. They're taking it away from us now. I don't want that for my kids. You shouldn't either. I don't want that for you. I don't want it for me. Because it's inherently bad. Too much leftism, too much bad. That is a no-brainer. You need to think about things in terms where you can be creative and but when that niceness becomes overbearing to the point where you can't even speak an opposing point of view, you can't have reasons that are good enough to fight with the system that tells you what is good and what is not, you can't even raise a voice to it. That's why free speech was so important. That's why it is so important. Debate it on the main stage. Bring it to, if you're so correct, why do you have to clandestinely bring this shit in? If there's a threat, show it to me. And I don't want anecdotes, and I don't want somebody comparing the tissue of a healthy 30-year-old to the tissue of a 75-year-old smoking alcoholic with psoriasis. Oh, look, this guy's not as healthy as this guy. It was the COVID. Seriously? You notice they don't tell you the ages of those tissue samples? Why is it all about managing perception? Look, yeah, the point is that I would have liked it if I could just kind of have these conversations, and I would have been a lot calmer, and I would have been able to spend more time fleshing out what it is I'm saying and present it to you in a more palatable manner if this wasn't so urgent. And it's urgent for so many reasons. Not the least of which, I'm going to have to go take a job. Not that I don't want to work. If you think that what I'm doing is not work, you think this is fun, talking about stuff like this? Doing this, putting yourself out there like this? This is not fun. This is not fun for me. Do I seem like I'm having fun? I mean, I know I laugh. But it's not fun. It's work. And I'm just like everybody else. I'd like to just go to a job where I do what I'm supposed to do. And at the end of the day, I come home to my family and I make plans for my own life and in my own time, on my own terms. And that's being taken away from all of us right now. And the people that believe that they're sitting in a house that's worth all this stuff, and unless you're going to work for the system, you are making the world out there more difficult for everyone around you. You idiot. You idiot. Stability in society only happens when there's enough stuff and resources to go around, and we're shutting down the resources and stuff that don't fit our criteria because of the climate change. And look, I could literally talk about this for hours. Why that is not, it's not what it says, it's not what they claim it is, and it's not going to work out. They say that it's going to work out. It doesn't have to be more nefarious than that. There doesn't have to be satanic ritual going on. There doesn't have to be the pedophiles. There doesn't have to be any of that stuff. This is awful, what's going on. If it wasn't totally unpalatable for the regular people like you and me, if you're watching this, then why would they have to do it based around a lie? Based around a fiction, a fabrication, a reclassification? This is not dangerous to regular people. It is not dangerous to healthy people. And they're taking all the things that make us healthier and happier, and they're making it impossible to do that stuff, to engage in that stuff. And when you're in a heightened state of stress for an extended period of time, guess what lowers your immune system? That does. But they don't care. You see, because they have a final solution for us. They're going to save us all, whether we like it or not. So anyways, yeah, I'm going to have to take a job just doing manual labor. I have a friend that said he can help me out with that, so I suppose that that's what I'll do. And we'll all just wither and die together, I guess. This is tragic. Anyway, yeah. That's it, I guess. Almost done 2 hours now, so I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep writing stuff and producing it. I'm gonna edit this other stuff that I've got. The only thing I ask is that you like this if you can, if it doesn't get taken down by YouTube, if I don't violate their terms of service by talking about what's actually going on. I don't know, share it, like it, spread it, whatever. Tell me I'm crazy. Spread it because you don't like me. I don't care. I'm willing to let people take their decisions into their own minds. Let people say that what I'm saying is crazy or insane or I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever, but let them just at least think about it. Let me just plant that seed. Anyways, peace, y'all. I want the best for your family the same way that you want the best for your family. And if you doubt that that's what I actually want, you're not paying attention. And I'm not full of platitudes and bullshit and all the ways that you got to change your life just to do that. I think that you should try to be a better person in your own terms. But when we mandate it from the top down, that hasn't worked. It never will work. And it looks something like that. You familiar with that? An excellent series. It was called... I forget what it was called. I wasn't even planning on doing that, so I forget what it was called, but it was Childhood's End. Go look it up. I think it was on Sci-Fi. Childhood's End. It was these aliens came to Earth and they revealed themselves to us and they fixed all of our problems and they cleaned all of our societies and they did all these wonderful things to us, but there was a catch. There was some fine print at the bottom that people didn't understand. And when it was revealed to them what it was all about, they had to accept that, hey, the people that have been influencing you and telling you and promising utopias here are also wearing great big back wings and horns. So I'm sorry if I ruined it for you. Spoiler alert! Am I too late? Oh well. Yeah,